What we're doing today is we're going to do the Pitman arm on the 2003 Chevy Suburban, and I think we can actually go without taking this shield off. We don't really need to get up in there, I don't think. The main place we need to get is right over here. If you have a four-wheel drive or something, I think the shield goes further. But on this one, it's just a short shield. It's not a skid plate. So we'll start off by undoing it here and popping the Pitman arm off of this. I don't know if you want this link here. And then we cannot get a puller here. There's no way we're going to get this off without moving the steering gearbox. So once this is loose, I'd rather pop this loose when the gearbox is secure to the frame. But once that's off, we will take these three bolts out. So I can get my impact on these two, and then I'll probably, instead of taking this shield off, I don't think I can peel it back far enough. Maybe if I pop this clip out, I might be able to get my impact in there. If not, I'll just use the boxed in wrench. Take those three out so that the steering gearbox can hang down. We will not, I'm going to try not to have to undo it up here. I don't think there's a reason to. Once this is off here, there should be enough slack. Once this is off here and out, there should be enough slack to pull the gearbox, and then also leave the lines attached because they are rubber there, so we don't have to undo those. Basically put the gearbox, the steering gearbox, between here. So we want to put that nut for the gearbox about right here, and we can rest the gearbox between the steering arm and the I can't think today, the sway bar. So let me pop this off. We'll have to undo cotter pin, take this nut off, and I'll try hitting it right here to break the conical seat, and then if not, I'll get a pickle fork in here and see if I can get this undone. So let's start off by getting this off, and then once we get that off, we'll unbolt the steering box. Well, my cheap Pitman arm puller broke. It's the second time it's broke. Take it and get a new one. Lifetime warranty, Harbor Freight. That is one thing. I mean, I've used it a few times, and so each time it breaks, I go get a new one. But a Pitman arm puller is one thing you kind of want a good one. I just haven't bought a good one yet. This was stuck on there tight, this end of the Pitman arm, and I've got this real good, it's a Proto, it's got several different puller attachments, and I just put it over it and put this these vice grips real tight, holding it up so they wouldn't slip off. I had a hose clamp on there at first and it popped off. So I got this loose now, and I did try beating it a little bit to break that conical seat, but there's just not much room in here to swing your hammer. It's a big hammer, but just not enough room to swing and break that seat, but it's popped now. And so I can undo those three gearbox bolts, but I feel like I'm going to have a lot of fun with this Pitman arm. Now that my puller's broke, I may need to go get a new one. I'll try to do it with that Proto puller, but I kind of need my Pitman arm puller. Now, when you're actually using this on a Pitman arm, you get a little bit better bite. So you get back here, which makes it stronger. On here, it was just getting the edges of these, and so it was putting a lot of leverage on that, and it popped it. So it would actually hold up to pulling that Pitman arm, but the Pitman arm most likely is going to be this end of it. The gearbox end is most likely going to be a harder seat to break than that one, so I don't know if it would do it or not, but we're going to try with the Proto puller. If it doesn't work, I'll have to go get this one exchanged out, and we'll see if we can do it with that. So let's as a last resort, I can always take my grinder, my little cutoff wheel, and cut a little slice out of this Pitman arm if I need to. Last resort. Alright, so use my impact, broke this loose. If you don't have a impact with I used 1 1/4 inch. It's a tight fit. I kind of had to drive it on there, so it's kind of stuck right now. But once I get the nut completely off, I can stick a screwdriver or something in here and knock the nut out. But if you have to use hand tools, I would recommend leaving it, trying to get in there and break the nut loose while it's still mounted to the gearbox, because without an impact, if you were trying to break this nut loose with the steering gearbox just laying in here like it is, it's going to want to try to move all over the place. So if you don't have an impact to break this loose, probably it's a tight fit, and you might be able to get a boxed in wrench in there and break it loose when it's still mounted, or you may even have to pull this sway bar out to get it out of the way. But we've got it off. And I'll knock the nut out of there. I did try a metric socket. I tried a 32, and it was tight too. I didn't have a 33 to try a 33, but it's possible it's a 33 millimeter. This one didn't. It acted like it kind of wanted to go in there, but it wouldn't drive on there. So it may be a 33 millimeter, or it just may be a tight 1 1/4 inch. So I'll get that knocked out of there. We'll start the nut back on there, and I'll get my puller on here with the little C-clamp on there. It's not going to do much good to hit it, but I'll probably hit it a few times right here before I put my puller on it. I don't think it's really going to help it, but it might. We don't really, like I said, it's just laying in here, so hitting it with it like this is not going to, maybe it'll push up against here and hit up against something solid, but we'll give it a few good hits, try to help it break loose, and then I'll get my puller on it, and I'll see if my puller is going to do it. So I've been working a while here, and success. I don't know if you can see what I've got going on here, but like I said, my Pitman arm puller broke, and it wouldn't have done it anyway. This puller did not slip off, and I tightened it as tight as my impact would get, and it would not come off. Ended up cutting a slice in the Pitman arm with my cutoff wheel, a little air die grinder cutoff wheel, and it still wouldn't. I didn't. I got it like to where it was almost through. I didn't want to risk getting into the shaft, steering shaft, and then I got my air hammer on it. It still wouldn't go. So I cut myself another cut over here, kind of like a relief cut, so I could get my air hammer in there, air chisel, and wedge it in there, and it would give it this metal's so thick on this pitman arm, it needed like a relief cut, and then that did it. So I'll show y'all what it looks like once I get all this contraption off and get it out of here. Alright, so here's what I was talking about. I cut this and got my air chisel in here, and it still would not budge. You know, I had the puller on it, it still would not budge. And so, like I said, this metal's so thick, even with that thing wedged in there, it wasn't opening it up, because it's just so strong. So I went back, cut a relief cut, and you can't get my cutoff wheel. You start getting into the steering box, or I didn't get into the steering box, but I didn't want to. You can't get all the way down in the back side of it, but it was enough to, once I cut that relief cut, did the air chisel again, I saw that this gap right here gets smaller. Then I tightened up on the puller and it popped off. And this thing is wedged in there. I'll have to get the hammer in. There we go. And like I said, I did not go through to the threads. Or not to the threads, but to the splines. Did not want to get into the gearbox. So, old one out. Ready to put the new one in. Alright, so here's the new one. I got the Raybestos professional grade. These have good reviews. They're made in Taiwan. It was between this and the Moog, and I normally go with Moog, but the reason I didn't, Moog's quality for one, I think has gone down, because I think they've shipped their stuff to China now. But also, people were complaining on the Moog that this taper for the the steering shaft's tapered so that it has a tapered fit, and that the taper wasn't cut deep enough so that it made the pitman arm not go on as far onto the gearbox as the old one, and that you had to crank it extremely tight to get it to, pull up what you would, I guess, perceive as enough onto the gearbox. And so I decided to go with the Raybestos. So here it is. It's not quite as thick through here and here, but I don't think that would be a failure point. The joint itself is smaller. Doesn't mean it won't last as long, but yeah, so it's a little bit smaller. But people say these are really good quality, and it looks like it's made really well. So I do like that it's got a better seal here than this old one did. There's not really, I mean, maybe it's deteriorated, but I don't see much of a seal there. So I went ahead and put the grease zerd on it and went ahead and greased it up because it is hard to get to when it's in there. So I figured I'd just go ahead and grease it now. Some of that's going to squeeze out, you know, when I tighten it up, but that's fine. So let's go ahead and install this. What I will do is slip it up on the shaft, tighten it down super tight, and then I'm going to, maybe I should show you. Tools here. Alright. So, and that's not the, it looks like I did nick the gearbox just a hair right there, but it didn't hurt it. My puller, didn't realize this is just a dust seal. It's not actually the main seal, and that's not going to hurt it, but I didn't realize it. This dust seal was pulled down up against the Pitman arm. So when you go do yours, make sure to push this seal back up in there, because it had slid down. When I put my puller on it, my puller got pinched this seal, this dust shield up against the Pitman arm, between the Pitman arm and the puller, and so it kind of tore it up a little bit, but it's okay. So what I'm going to do, I'll put the Pitman arm on. Once I get the Pitman arm on, and I don't know if these splines are indexed, but my Pitman arm was pointing out this way, so just make sure when you put it on pointing where it was. These splines may be you know, laid out to where it won't go in different ways, but just in case, just make sure you put it on facing the same direction it came off. So once I get that on there and get this nut tight, I will then drop the pick up the steering box, drop it to where the Pitman arm goes in the link here. Once I get that done, I'll just start the nut. Probably won't draw it up yet. I'll go ahead and I can line up the steering box to bolt it back up. And since I've got it jacked up with both wheels off the ground, I can move the tires and move this link, you know, wherever I need it to line up with the gearbox, or the Pitman arm, and get the gearbox lined up to the frame. So let's see if I can do all that. If you got two people, it makes it nice having somebody to hold up, or you know, you hold up on the steering gearbox while you start the bolts, or you know. But I think I can hold the gearbox up with one hand, then reach around and start the bolts with the other hand. So let's see if we can get these, get all this together. Alright, so this is what I was talking about. I've got this started. I'm going to leave it loose. It gives me some wiggle room to kind of help line the steering box up. And then as soon as I get the steering box bolted down, I will tighten up this end of the Pitman arm. I got that end tightened up on the gearbox. And like I said, I can move the tires from side to side to help me line up the gearbox to the frame. And I'll just reach through, hold the gearbox up, and then with the other hand I will push the screw through, or the bolt through, and start it. So let me see if I can get all that done. These bolts are kind of nice because they have a, that one's not started, but they have a You see that end with no threads? So you can kind of set the gearbox on the bolt and then kind of wiggle it around, help get it started. So it makes it a whole lot easier. It's a nice design there. Alright, we are done. I got the 3 steering box bolts in. And evidently there was some nasty grease on top of that link there. So I'll get a screwdriver and scrape that away. Some nice clean grease. Everything's tight. So we are done. And there's that idler arm we put on a while back. When I put the idler arm on, I noticed the Pitman arm had some slop in it, so that's why I went ahead and changed it also. And I had checked all the other steering components. I can check them again, but I had checked them all, and everything was tight. So, well, when I did the idler arm, I checked everything, and everything was tight except the Pitman arm. So that's why we did the Pitman arm. But I'll go ahead and check and make sure everything's tight again. And we are done. So thanks for watching.